I want to tell you today that I believe Jesus cares much more about who we are for than what we are against.
Yeah, that's good.
He cares so much more about who we are for than what we are against. And I personally believe being a lawyer, the practice of law, is a holy calling. In our firm, and you can, Karina and Megan can wave here, they're members of my team you can talk to later. At our immigration firm, we keep families together. We defend people from deportation. We get visas for immigrant victims of human trafficking and crime. And everything we do with this heart to serve, this calling that we feel like God has put on our lives to serve the voiceless, the oppressed, and the vulnerable. I view the work of law similar to, raise your hand if you've seen the movie Wonder Woman. All right, we're going to have a slide up here. And do you remember that iconic battle scene where she walks onto the no man's land battle and she puts her shield up and the Axis powers are shooting bullets at the Allied forces behind her and they could not advance. But when she courageously steps out, she pulls her shield out. Look at that. The bullets can't advance, and then the Allied forces behind her come in, and they get the courage to move forward. My clients are courageous people. They just can't sometimes defend when they've got these bullets coming at them. So the power of the law can give them that moment to charge forward with their lives victoriously. And we have seen that. It is amazing work. If you think I'm exaggerating about that story, let me tell you, and you can stop the Wonder Woman now. Let me tell you the story of an actual client that we recently had at our firm. Raise your hand if you've seen Modern Family. U.S. citizen man, Colombian woman, they get married. They've been married for 6 years. He was born in Missouri, at St. Joseph, Missouri. They hire me to do their marriage petition, and we go up to the USCIS Immigration Office in Kansas City. We sit down. They're telling the immigration officer their love story about how they met, and all of a sudden, ICE deportation agents burst in the door. They block the door, and they tell me and the clients, we're here to deport this woman. She had no criminal history. The husband grabs the wife and is trying to defend her, and they're crying in the corner while I'm trying to explain the law to the ICE agents who didn't know the law. They had no idea that they did not have the legal authority to deport her, and they were going to try to do it anyway. So I explained the law to them. I have a spiritual gift of arguing, right? So it wasn't pretty. I got in trouble for it later because I raised my voice a little bit. But I explained the law to the ICE agents, and they left. We breathed, a couple of deep breaths, and continued on with our interview. I had to escort them through the parking lot to their car because they were afraid that ICE agents might be waiting for them there. They get in their car, they drive off. She gets her green card 2 or 3 weeks later. Awesome. Right? Yes. So I want to just explain to you that I personally believe that immigration and the treatment of immigrants is not a gray biblical issue. It is black and white. There are 92 references in Scripture to being kind to the immigrant, the stranger, the refugee. God calls his people throughout both the Old and the New Testament to be kind to the foreigner. It says, don't oppress the foreigner. Remember, you were once foreigners in the land of Egypt, God says. And Jesus in Matthew 25 makes it clear, I was a stranger and you invited me in. I was a stranger. I was an immigrant. I was a refugee, and you were kind to me. And Jesus says this amazing statement. He says, the way you treat the stranger is the way you're treating me. This is a powerful, important issue to Jesus. And so I just want to explain to you a little bit about the immigrants and the refugees that I see. If you could close your eyes for just a moment, I'm going to have you imagine something. Imagine if your country fell apart. Imagine if you had to run away with your family to another country. Imagine if your house was torched and burned to the ground, or your sister disappeared on her way home from school, or dangerous gangs tried to force you to join them and you didn't want to. The police don't protect you. You have nowhere to go in your country, so you are forced to flee. When you come to the land that you are fleeing, how do you want to be treated? Or imagine, keep your eyes closed, imagine being raised in this country since you were a baby, and then later finding out that you don't have the right papers to stay here, and you might be deported to a land that you don't remember and you don't speak the language? Now open your eyes. Those are the stories that I hear every day. Immigrants and refugees in the United States are among the most vulnerable and voiceless of our population. They have everything stacked against them from the moment they arrive into our country. They don't speak the language, they don't have any money, and they have the law against them. I don't know if you've seen the John Oliver piece recently on immigration courts. Kids come alone to the United States and are expected to defend themselves in immigration court at the age of 3 or 4. I have a 2.5-year-old, almost 3-year-old. I promise you, it would not be pretty. I've had clients sitting on my lap at immigration court that we're defending. We are called to be for the weak, for the oppressed, and for the voiceless. We are to speak for those who cannot speak for ourselves. So I believe that the treatment of foreigners in America is one of the most glaring human rights struggles of our generation. And I feel like I am looking at the warriors who are going to help us advance this cause and protect immigrants. Immigrants need us to advocate for them. They need us to advocate for more just laws on their behalf. They need us to defend them against deportation. And they need us to change the narrative about who they are that we're hearing in the media, that they are valuable to God and they are valuable to this nation. So in closing, I want to leave you with this challenge. A truly powerful person lifts others up with their strength. Just like hurting people hurt people, powerful people empower people. Who are you called to be for? Who are the voiceless, the vulnerable, or the oppressed that you can touch and empower? Thank you.